Persuadable. What's going on, everybody? I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like this angle. I really, hold on, let me see if I can fix this. Hold on. We're going in the sky. Hello. Give me a second. We're going in the sky. Wait. Hi. All right, is that a little bit better? How do I look? Do I look okay? All right. I'm like really trying to hustle right now. Can you guys hear me? Yo, what's going on? Ah, look at all these good looking people. Man, look at all these people. You guys are all way too good looking. You know my line. We gotta ban everybody. You can't have this many good looking people in the same party. Look at this. Oh my God. All right, so you're not ugly. I didn't ask you for your opinion. Right? That's kind of good, right? A little bit of that aggression that you got me go. Be like, I didn't ask you for your opinion. I've already decided that you're good looking. I wasn't aware that this was a debate. I didn't ask you for your opinion. I told you what is the truth. I told you what is objective. Y'all good looking. I didn't ask for any of your opinions on this. All right, man. So we got to talk a little bit. You're not ugly. Hold on. I'm not even, what's this saying that you're ugly? Let me tell you something. When I was in high school, right? It was like 10 years ago. I thought I had myself convinced that no girl would ever like me. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was this and that. And maybe I was true, but let me tell you something. College was very fun. So you're not ugly. There's 7.5 billion people in the world. You're going to tell me, all right, so if we were to take half of them and then take another half of that, we'll say we'll take a quarter, all right? You're going to tell me that roughly 1.5 billion people, that not one person out there is going to find you everlasting. I almost said an everlasting gobstopper. I don't know that. I haven't watched Willy Wonka in a while, but it's just statistically improbable. Y'all beautiful. I'm just telling you. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about how I became a top kiter and how you can become a top kiter. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're completely lying to you. All right. So I had a conversation with somebody on my Discord, and they were saying how they were new. They weren't too new, right? But they were telling me, hold on, I'm trying to get a good angle on here. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, so what they told me is, I want to get better at kiting. I want to get good at kiting. I don't know how to do it, all right? So here's an analogy I used. Can you guys all hear me? Can you guys all hear me? You guys can hear me? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. It's gonna be a long-winded way. My hair is a disaster right now. I have bed hair. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Here's a theoretical question, and we're going to apply psychology to this, and we're going to apply how we deal with this in real life. Okay. So bear with me on this. All right. Hear me out. So let's say that you get into a car accident. Your significant other cheats on you. All right. You find out that you just failed a big test. You found out that your best friend was talking junk about you. And then on top of all of that, you stepped on a Lego in the morning. All right. So those are 5 bad things, really bad things that are equally as bad. I honestly think that stepping on a Lego is as equally as bad as being cheated on. Okay. What is the first thing that you do? So you just got dumped. You just got real life that really just kind of crapped on you all over the place. What is the first step that you do? I'm serious. What is the first step that you do? This relates to Identity 5, guys. So you got this huge mess. It's overwhelming. You have all these things that just happened, and you're like, wow, I don't even know what to do. All right. Do you know what one of the first steps to do is? The first step is to actually not take a first step. The first step is actually the realization that you need to break everything down to one step at a time. So you need to have insight before judgment, all right? You need to know all of this just happened. Now what I need to do is I need to ask myself, what's the first step? So taking the first step is not the first step. The first step is realizing that you need to organize everything and try to the best of your ability to break it down and say, what is the first thing that I need to do? When it comes to kiting in this game, when you first come into the game, there's a whole bunch of problems. You have all these hunters with all these different abilities. And then you have these maps that you spawn at different locations in the map. And then on top of that, you don't really know who your teammates are. You don't know if you're going to have a mind's eye and early vision. You haven't memorized where the dungeons are. You don't know where the exit gates are. Even if you do know where those are, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. You have all these different hunters, different survivors. You don't know what survivors are doing what. And I'm not talking about if you just started the game. I'm talking about even if you've been playing for 4 or 5 months now, right? So that's one of the first steps, is realizing you have hunters, survivors, all that stuff. How you become a better kiter. How I became a better kiter. How I became a very reliable kiter. How Yo Mama became a reliable kiter. How Legacy and Nurse Main and some of the top, Remy and Nori, who used to be the #1 mechanic in the game. What you do is you take a step back, okay, and you ask yourself, all right, we have all these maps. We have all these areas of the maps. Here's what most people do wrong. Here's what I'm going to tell you. All right, I want you to envision the map, okay? When you envision, think of Sacred Hospital. I want everybody to think of Sacred Hospital, and I want you to be from an aerial view, all right? So you're looking down, and Sacred Heart is right there. The whole map, you're looking down from an aerial view. You're looking down, and you see a bunch of tiny ants running away from a hunter, all right? Here's what happens. What happens is that when we play the game, most of us don't want to take time to learn each part of the map. So what we do is we just jump right into the map, and we keep playing, and we keep playing, and then there'll be certain areas that you kind of know what to do with, right? So we'll call that like a red circle. And maybe you kite it over here once, and you kite it over here once, and you kite it over here once. But what happens, you have these little red circles. Hold on. You have these little red circles all over the map that you have at least tried to kite once or twice. Maybe more than that, 10, 15 times. The difference between a god kiter, a goddess kiter, and somebody who just doesn't ever really want to learn is that they don't break down the map into individual tiny parts and practice each individual tiny part. I'm going to tell you, I have never asked Lan. I have never asked Lan how she became a good geisha. I'm going to tell you how she became a good geisha. I've never even asked her. I know how she became a good geisha because all top players learn almost the same way in this game. All right, now Lan can come into the chat and she can tell you if I'm wrong. Lan became the best geisha in the United States and European server because she practiced every tiny part of the map over and over and over again. She probably had teammates who ran inside those little huts, and she found little cracks and little areas to see the red indicator so she could fly right through, right? It's a systematic process. So what happens is let's go back to Sacred Heart Hospital. People don't put it together. You just play the match and you have these little tiny red dots of areas that you kind of have a good idea on how to kite. But because you've never spent 15, 20 games on a custom match in just this one spot, and I show you guys how I do this in my videos over and over and over again. I show you how I do this. I do this in real competitive gameplay, and I do it in 8 versus 2, right? For instance, when I was a Mind's Eye, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, I said specifically, I'm only going to kite in this area until I die. I'm not even going to try to get away from this area. I do not care about dying. I'm only going to kite in this area. It's 8 versus 2, right? You might as well have fun. And what I do is sometimes I'll do that 10 or 15 games in a row. I stick to the same spot. And then when I start realizing certain things about that area, right, with a new map, I'm like, you know what? When I try to go towards this wall, what I'm realizing is there's not enough room over here. And then I got to run all the way back here. And now, because it's the Ripper, they have a nice, easy fog blade on me. Versus if it's the Feaster, oh, I could easily do that route. The way you become a good kiter is you don't just randomly keep practicing in different areas. You can do that, but you should take notes. You should write down where you're dying, where you're struggling. You go into a custom match and you tell somebody, I want you to try to kill me in this area. And then you have to start thinking, okay, how would I change this versus different hunters? There's a reason for this. So say we're in Sacred Hospital and we're in the hut. That hut, just a tiny hut in Sacred Hospital, I probably spent 30, 40 games on just practicing in that hut. And really, there's 3 different strategies in that hut. Now, people say, how are you a good kiter? I'm a good kiter because I know what I want to do 3 steps in advance, not only 1 step in advance. okay? As an example, if I'm in the hut and the hunter comes towards me from the pallet, I now know that if I've invested in the left wing, I want to hop that window and I want to run straight towards the two pallets. And even if I get hit there, which I'm not going to, but if I do, then I can just transfer into the sacred hospital and I can kite them. So when I start inside here, I know where I want to go 3 steps in advance. If you know where you want to go 3 steps in advance, then you can just take your time. You take your time when you start transitioning to where you go. I will tell you what a lot of you are doing wrong. I will tell you, I have helped hundreds of players in this game. The number one thing people are doing is that they have no plan. They have no idea what they're doing. They just kind of kite, and they don't know. They don't even, when you're tight kiting, let me ask you a question. When you're tight kiting, do you ever think in your head, I want the hunter on this side of the pallet? A lot of people don't. They're just like, I'm going to tight kite as long as I can until I think I can't anymore, and then I'm going to throw the pallet. Sometimes I purposely will manipulate the hunter to make them go the opposite way because I specifically want you on this side of the pallet. And I will throw the pallet down to make sure you're over here because I need to transition over here. A lot of people don't even think that. They're like, oh, this is just the tight kiting area. You know what, the hell with it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep tight kiting, throw the pallet down, and maybe he's over here, maybe he's over here. You can't do that. You can't do that because you're not setting yourself up for the most optimal route. So what you need to do is you need to know where you want to go 3 steps in advance. And how do you do that? You might be like, oh, wow, how can he do that? Just repetition. It's to the point where if you keep practicing each area of the map as an individual, as an isolated area, inside Sacred Hospital, you pretty much, the small hut, you pretty much have 3 options. Technically, the worst option is you can run through the front door. You have that one little pallet there, and it helps you get to the other area where you have 2 pallets. You can circle. You can work your way to the gate. From there, you can you're probably going to get hit. You can either go this way towards the other ones, or you can work your way inside the Sacred Hospital. If I'm right here, I have 2 options. I can use the pallet to get back into the small hut, or I can transfer over here. I'll probably get hit once, but at least I'll be in Sacred Hospital. It's one of the best areas to kite. I will at least waste another 45 seconds of your time, even with drastic mistakes. So if I'm here, I already know there's 2 possibilities depending on which way I end up, and I know where I want to go. And the only way that you can do that is by repetition. You can't, the biggest mistake is that people, the reason why their kiting game doesn't get better is because they feel like a mouse. They drop into the map and they have no idea what they're doing. I've played with people who have 1,500 games, and they're still not really great kiters. And the reason being so is that they're too afraid to be challenged in certain areas and in different areas. Today, I played Mind's Eye. I played Mind's Eye in a rank match, and I went against a spider. So the spider took down the seer, put the seer in the chair. I finished the first cipher. She comes after me. I don't even know. I actually don't think that she's going to leave the seer. So I go this way, and she's right here. I look over here, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm so screwed. Got hit by the spider. So I didn't freak out. I go, okay, there's a good chance I'm going to die pretty soon. So now I'm in Sacred Heart, and I'm by those ruins. And I'm like, I need to maximize my potential here. I don't know anything about this hunter. I don't know what this hunter's build is. I don't think she has blink. Maybe she does have blink. I was able to hold her off for 100. I went back in the footage. I have it. I might put it on YouTube. I was able to hold this spider off for 119 seconds from the first hit until she got me on the rocket chair, all right, and put me down. So as a spider, everybody complains about the spiders, and I can understand why. As a Mind's Eye, against a good, competent spider, it's a good top 30 hunter. I think he's a top 30 hunter, so he knows what he's doing. He's a good hunter. I was able to still kite for 119 seconds. Now, technically, was it? No, I'm sorry, it wasn't 119 seconds. It was 1 minute and 19 seconds, so about like 70 seconds, and then I went down. As a Mind's Eye, that's not that bad. The only reason why I was able to do it is because I've literally spent hundreds of matches in that area. So hundreds of matches of trying to dodge and do different things, and which pallet do I want to go to? When should I throw the pallet down? When I should not throw the pallet down? When do I need to throw the pallet down? When do I think that she's too close or the Spider Queen's too close, and I just got to hope that she tries to swing in the pallet thinking I'm going to throw it down, and then I'm going to throw it down and then stun them. So the other thing that I get asked about is the ping. What's going on, PUBG? Tech. If you have a bad ping, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm telling. If I have a bad ping, it's very hard for me to kite as well. So yeah, kiting ability is definitely dependent on ping. I would say that I don't really see too big of a difference from, and I'm being honest, ping. I should probably do a guide on this. If I have 30 ping as a survivor, and if I have 100 ping as a survivor, there is a difference, but not enough for me to blame the ping. So usually as long as you're under 100, you're pretty much in the same category. I mean, maybe in some rare circumstances that's going to matter, but not really. Not enough for people. Some people will tell you it's a big enough disadvantage, but those are the people who die probably, and they want to make excuses. If I have a 30 ping and I have a 100 ping, the only annoying thing is if I kind of run into a barrier or something. But for the most part, it's pretty much in the same category. Anything above that gets really difficult. So there's nothing I can do with you in terms of your ping. And that really does suck. And I know that ping has been one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have been complaining about. Okay? But what I've been seeing a lot of people is that, again, if you think of the map from an aerial view, if all you keep doing is you just keep randomly playing, you don't try to tie the knots together, if you think of the map, think of the map, and then think of splitting it in 4 ways. You should probably dedicate at least 25 matches in each part, right? If you dedicate 25 matches in each part, that's 100 matches for that one map. You'll have a way better idea. And the problem is that like when we go in the custom matches, we do it over and over and over again. You cannot be afraid to die in 20 seconds. That is not, a custom match is not the time for you to try to boast. It's not the time for you to pretend that you're a god. It is not the time for you to have an ego and be too afraid to die. Okay? When I went against Lan, she was on her live feed. She killed me in like 30 seconds. I was using a mind's eye. I didn't care. It's a custom match. I wanted to try out the mind's eye. I've been practicing with mind's eye, right? I didn't care. I didn't have the ego. I wasn't like, oh, we're on live feed. I got to use perfume or a forward so I can, kite for 60, 70, 80 seconds, I didn't care about that. I was like, Lan's a good hunter. It's a good opportunity for me to measure certain things with mind's eye. And Lan also did some incredible things at that part of the map on Red Church that now makes me realize that when I face a geisha, I actually do different things now because of that one match with her. It was an incredible learning experience even for me. So you have to be willing to challenge yourself. You have to be willing to take different parts of the map and really ask yourself, how can I live the longest? It's not always about how can I escape. That's one way of looking at it. But how can I last the longest? There are times where I cognitively strategize, where I get hit unexpectedly, and I know I'm going to die. I know this is a good hunter. There is absolutely no way I'm going to get away from this hunter right now. There is no way I can do it. Not in this part. So I look at myself, and within 3 seconds, probably even shorter than that, I have to ask myself, where can I get to in the next 3 seconds that's going to allow me to at least transition to somewhere a little bit better or that will maximize my ability to survive? If I go into a nice area that lets me survive another 25, 30 seconds, that's a successful kite. So you really have to, and I'm telling you, if you think that I am not offering you anything with this video, it's because you're not listening. All right, this isn't just like a wellness video where it says how can you get happiness, and it's like, oh, just think positively, and you're like, oh, no shit, if it was that simple I wouldn't need to watch you, right? I'm telling you a very specific process, and some people don't get it. The process is to really repetitiously repeat, well, that's the same word, that makes no sense, on a repetitious level to go into that one spot and go over and over and over. And you should know in every spot, every tiny little pallet, you should know what is my plan when the hunter goes this way and what's my plan if the hunter goes that way, right? Because it's going to depend on which way you're getting them to really rotate. And that's super important. It's super important. Everybody, that's why right now I'm kiting with mind's eye. Everybody's asking, why am I going rank mode with mind's eye? Because I can still kite you with mind's eye. You know, I'll have once in a while a bad game for sure. I'm still learning with Mind's Eye. I just spent, 2,500 matches between Master and Thief, Master and Perfumer, Master and Forward, Master and Magician, Master and all of these characters, Master and Mechanic. Mind's Eye is a little bit different because I don't have the same vision, especially against a charging clown. I don't have the same vision, right? So there's a learning curve with Mind's Eye. But I'm definitely liking Mind's Eye more than any other character right now, hands down. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take some questions. I haven't been doing a good job at taking questions, and I know you guys are all. I have been reading the comments. This is live, by the way. This isn't like pre-recorded, and then yeah. All right, so let's see some of these questions. Try to make your question in like one line because I'm on my phone. So if you have like long lines, I can't read them. What does ping mean? It's your connection. Can you be a daddy for us? Yeah, I guess. Do you know that Lan is live persuadable? No, I don't. I don't really watch too many. Let's see. How long have you, Mori Queen? I don't know what that is. I have to read this closer. Okay. Okay, I thought it was, is being toxic fine? Is being toxic fine? No, it's definitely not. I think that there's moments where we can all be toxic. I think there's moments where we let our emotions get to us. I think there's moments where we get pissed off where our teammates die too quickly. I think as a hunter, it can be very frustrating losing to a four-man victory. I think it's about managing it. So if I tell you that you should never be toxic ever in your entire life, then you're going to think that it's probably unachievable or inachievable. I think it's unachievable, and you're not even going to try. So what I usually try to tell people is you need to manage it. So is toxic being fine? No. Is being toxic at times human? Sure. Sometimes we get mad, we get angry, we get frustrated, and you should do the best that you can though to moderate that and to manage it. You don't have a right to be a jerk to other people. And trust me, sometimes I can be a jerk. It happens. I'm not perfect. I do my best, though, to not be toxic. What is your strategy to fight photographer? So it really depends. It depends on what the photographer is doing. What the most important thing is early game hiding. Just being able to crouch behind something. In the first, 3 to 5 seconds is so important. People will always be like, oh, photographer spawned right next to a camera in 6 seconds and I didn't have time to relocate and hide. Well, that's your mistake, is that you're trying to relocate. You literally just need to hide wherever the heck you are. So, strategy. There's one strategy that I got that I'm holding off on right now. Where is the Wu Chang guide? I don't really use Wu Chang. So what we have realized is that a lot of the quote-unquote good Wu Chang users were computer users. They were computer users, so playing Wu Chang on the computer is very different. Is very different from the mobile version. Can you guys give me a second? I just gotta charge this up. So, what I try to do, hold on. This whole going from hotel to hotel thing is getting old. Give me a second. So, in terms of a Wu Chang guide, let me just explain this real quick. So, a lot of the good Wu Chang users were computer users. Now, the thing with me is that I don't really try to play politics. I try to tell people what my opinions are, and sometimes those opinions get people riled up. And let me just make this very clear that I am super excited that computer users are on their own server. Now, let me first answer that, and then I'll get to the whole computer thing. So yeah, I don't play Wu Chang a lot, so I'm not going to really come out with a guide. If I can't play the character on a competitive level, I usually don't come out with a guide with them. All right. So one of the biggest problems is that there really is a huge distinction between PC users and mobile users. It's so bad. It is so bad. Computer users have such a big advantage. If you don't understand this, then you have never seen what computer users can do. okay? So that's why I've never came out with a Wu Chain guide, because it was a lot easier to use him on the computer, all right? So I answered your question about Wu Chain. I'm not going to come out with a guide with him for a while, but stemming from that to another question about the computer and the mobile thing, right? So there's a lot of computer users right now. There's a lot of computer users right now complaining because of the queue time. They're complaining about the queue time. They're saying it takes too long to find a match. All right, so first of all, every single top tier has had to deal with this in season 1. That doesn't mean that it's right, but even top tiers, if you guys were watching me season 1, you remember that sometimes Yo Mama and I waited an hour and a half for one rank match, right? That still happens now. Computer users have a significant competitive advantage, whether they're using Geisha, and because Geisha, you can see people a little bit differently on the computer, so you can actually charge through things that you normally wouldn't be able to do, okay? A forward user on the computer literally can move like a clown's rocket dash. So any of you guys who use forward and you have that like weird stiff sort of movement with him during his during his football dash, yeah, on the computer that's not a thing. You literally can go like this with him, like literally you can go like it's crazy, like, because you're controlling it with a mouse. All right. Clown, same thing. Feaster, same thing. Feaster, it's a lot easier to throw your tentacle. That's why if you ever play a Feaster and you're like, I can't believe that this dude hits me with like every tentacle like ever in existence, it's because they're probably using a computer. Computer users have such a significant advantage. All right. So playing on the computer also gives you advantage as well. It allows you to counter Geisha a lot easier. It allows you to use the forward a lot easier, so you can obviously stun people a lot easier. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for computer users. Right now they're saying, oh, like I feel bad that the computer users have a long queue time, right? I would never want anyone's gameplay to be impacted, right? But you have a lot of people who say, well, computer users, they need to wait a long time for matches and it's going to kill off the computer market. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, I don't really care. I don't care in the sense that I hope that you can play the game, and I hope that Identity 5 makes it more accessible for people. I hope that they spend money and advertise the computer game. I think that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, I don't want to hear about any excuses as to why you deserve a competitive advantage over other people. And that's exactly what you have as a computer user, and that's exactly why a lot of these top competitive gameplays, you're not supposed to be able to use a computer. We just saw one of the tournaments over in Asia where everybody was forced to use a mobile device. So I don't care what the excuse is. I don't care if the excuse is I don't have good internet, so I need to use an emulator. I don't care if the excuse is I don't have a good phone, so I need to use a computer. I don't care. Your disadvantage in life doesn't mean that other people have to be disadvantaged going against you because of your disadvantage. That's not how life works. It's not how it should work. So I'm very excited that mobile users and gaming users are separated. I genuinely believe that. And I know that there's like a whole bunch of top computer users who aren't going to be happy with me, but at the end of the day, you don't deserve a competitive advantage against me. Again, Yo Mama is one of the best survivors in the game. He uses a mobile device. Yo Mama we've been facing people on the computer for months now. And at the end of the day, yeah, there's moments where we're beating you, there's moments you're beating us, but the difference is that when we're beating you on our mobile devices. When you're beating us, it's because you're doing things that we can't do on our mobile device. You don't deserve that competitive advantage regardless of any rationale, any reasoning, and I would suggest that it's almost borderline narcissism. If you genuinely believe that you as a person deserve an advantage over other people in any game at any point in time for any reason, I disagree. And it's just a fundamental philosophical difference, and the world will spin, and that's okay. I'll still drink coffee and tea with you any point in time you would like to play the game. So, all right. Spider, yeah, Spider's annoying. I'll probably ban Spider every time I can in Tier 5, I'm not going to lie. I'd rather go against a photographer than a Spider, but we'll see. Now that the game is slowed down, photographer is becoming more powered. But he has a cooldown with his camera, which may be offset, so Yeah, I don't really like spiders as much. I'm glad that she's been nerfed. I used to, only because I'm a mind's eye, so I'm biased. This is an objective. You're not getting objective persuadable. You're getting survivor persuadable. I'm glad that I'm glad that Spider Queen was nerfed a little bit. But yeah, she can be difficult. She's probably one of the most difficult early game characters for me to kite as a mind's eye, depending on the location that I'm in. I mean, you guys know how I feel as perfumer, and perfumer is just you should never be dying early game as a perfumer. If you are, then you're really messing up your kiting ability. I think the biggest mistake of perfumer users is that they rely on their perfume too much and they don't go back to the basic fundamentals. Your perfume is supposed to be a last-ditch effort. Like, for instance, Yo Mama, the reason why he's the best magician in the game is because he kites as if he was a thief. The only difference is that obviously he doesn't have the Volton bonus, but he doesn't specifically kite in a manner where he's like, oh, I can rely on my illusion. Sometimes if he wants to transition against a clown, then yeah, but and he knows that he uses it more for transitions if he needs to, but he's still kiting like he normally would. So a lot of perfumers, what they do is they get it in their head, oh, I have this fancy perfume, and then you actually mess up your kiting. If you're exposing yourself to use your perfume, you're probably doing it wrong, unless you're transitioning from another area. So, all right. I used to win a lot with Joseph, but with this update, survivors hide more. It's harder now with Joseph. I don't know yet, just because I'm lower right now as a photographer. But you know, Joseph was always my main. Before Geisha used to be my main, and then it became Joseph. So I played so many matches with Joseph that I usually know where the survivors are at all times, even if they try to hide. So you just got to keep practice. I would suggest playing photographer in custom mode and getting used to where the survive. When I spawn as Joseph on any map, I know exactly where all 4 of those survivors are. So it's the same thing about, remember I told you how to kite? It's the same thing with custom match. Learn how to really, wherever you spawn, that's usually, there's fixed positions where the survivors spawn. So it'll make your job a little bit easier, for sure. Let's see. What do you think of the new hunter coming up? So I have a policy that I wait for the release of the new hunter to come here, and then I play around with that hunter, see what they can and can't do, and then like the embalmer. People ask me about my opinion on the embalmer. I haven't come out with a video on that yet, but what I would say is that embalmer, if embalmer was released in like September or October, we probably would have given embalmer an S tier rank or an A tier rank, because he has a 15% perseverance on the rocket chair, which is great. The coffin isn't necessarily phenomenal for him to use, right? Because it's good in some certain circumstances, but I think it's better for him to use selfishly, because it's more reliable that way. You know, wherever you spawn, put the coffin down, and if you start getting kited, or rather if you start kiting, then if you die, at least you can get spawned right away. There's a pro and a con to that, though. The problem is that at that point in time, you're killing yourself faster. There's the problem with the embalmer, and I was working today with a team that I've been playing with. I've been trying to get away from all the top players that I used to play with, and I'm trying to take the younger generation, the newest generation, and helping them. That's kind of my role. So you got all these players who are good now, and 4 months ago they were awful. They don't need me anymore. They're good. They don't need to play with me. So they moved on. They got their friends to play with and stuff. So now I'm kind of taking those tier 3s, tier 4s, and practicing with them a lot. And one of the coordinators today, I was trying to tell him that as a coordinator, people don't know this, but as a coordinator, you're not supposed to rescue right away unless you know that your survivor can get away from the hunter. Because if I'm a mind's eye, right, you have until that half health. You have until that half health to rescue him. If you actually wait and allow that to go up, you're actually giving me more time to decode over here, okay? Whereas if you rescue right away and then he gets hit down in 20 seconds, he goes down, you could have just given me 35 seconds instead of 20 if you would have waited just a little bit to allow me to decode, right? Now, sure, this person over here, right, the coordinator isn't technically decoding, but if you have somebody that does a good job, you're usually down to 3 ciphers at that point. okay? And at that point, you have 2 other people who are decoding, etc. So you don't want to save right away. You actually want to allow that to build up, because it doesn't matter if you save him at 1% or at 49%. If you wait to that 49%, you just, not 49, but like let's say 35, right? We'll be conservative in case you get hit too early. You just bought me like an extra, what is that? I think you bought me an extra 20 seconds to decode. And then when he goes down, that's another 20 seconds. So just based on your actions, you just allowed that survivor to survive another 40 seconds, all right? I'm still decoded. That means that I'm probably, what? Now probably about 2/3 of the way done with a decoding machine, depending on what you have. And then at that point, you transition. You can even use your flare gun, use the tide turner as a coordinator, all in the same shot, and then the coordinator runs away, and then the other person comes and sets themselves up for the second rescue, because they should have tide turner as well. You always want a tide turner, because then it's an additional 20 seconds. So that's if you decide to use coordinator. But anyway, so we were talking about that, and I was teaching them, if you have the opportunity to rescue right away, and you can get the survivor away, then do it. Do it all the time, right? But if the hunter is, like really face camping and he's waiting for you to make your move, there's not really there's no real negative repercussion to waiting and being patient, because now you're allowing me as a mind eye to do a ridiculous amount of decoding. That's in our favor. The problem with Embalmer is that if you use the Coffin for yourself, you take that aspect away. You're actually, in a way, you're kind of killing yourself faster. Instead of having somebody rescue you and actually giving you a 20-second tide turner, now what you have is you really have, and I'm going to get to the solution with Embalmer that nobody's doing. I'm going to tell you how you're supposed to play Embalmer in a second. But what you have now, I actually don't know why my hands are still like this, right? But oh yeah, I was doing the little thing. What happens now is that you resurrect yourself, right? And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, depends on how far away you got the Coffin. That's why I'm a proponent of using the Coffin right away, because that's going to be most likely the furthest distance you're going to be away from the hunter, and then you can move forward. But if you use it inappropriately, you just literally wasted your time. Now you can go on the safer machine, rather the rocket chair again, right? But you're allowing that spider to just move on from you. Now you're not, top survivors know that a camping hunter is good for us. We like camping hunters. If you complain about hunters who camp, you still have a lot to learn about the game. I want a camping hunter. That's good for me. That means that we can keep decoding like animals. If you're an Embalmer and you resurrect yourself and he sees the timer, he's going to immediately leave. And he's either going to try to find the Coffin, that's one option, or he's just going to move on to somebody else. That gives me no time to decode. The whole tide turner aspect, the 40-second and everything I just explained, out the window. It's not a tactic anymore, because you resurrected yourself. You wasted actually like 40 seconds of time. The way to play Embalmer, in my humble opinion, is to play without somebody like Coordinator. The idea is that if Embalmer, you need to play it where if Embalmer is kited in the beginning and he can resurrect himself, everybody is still focusing on decoded and nobody stops the decode, and that's just my humble opinion. If you're going to play Embalmer and you base it on, I'm going to resurrect myself early game, you shouldn't be playing with a Coordinator, because at that point in time, you want everybody else to decode as fast as possible because you're going to resurrect yourself. Now, you may say, well, what happens if somebody else goes down and it's not the Embalmer? Well, that's why, in my opinion, Embalmer should really always have tide turner and not the left wing. Tide turner can therefore be a saver. You have the tide turner. Well, it depends on how you play. You can wait to use your Coffin and do the resurrection on them. So that's why I don't like Embalmer. If he was based on in October, September-ish, he would have probably been like an S or an A tier. He's not good because there's way too many better characters. Seer got released, Perfumer got released, because ideally you could use his Coffin as a mistake, as a boo-boo, kind of like a weird variation of Seer's Owl that can absorb a hit, kind of like a weird variation of Perfumer, where it's like, oh, I got the Coffin on the side of the map, and most likely they know where that is as well. Okay. My strategy to play Embalmer is better than all you have said. So I'm sure that your strategy is better than what I have said. That's usually one of the things that we get all the time. We always get people who will come out with a strategy, and then they always say my strategy is better. So if your strategy is better, then I want to see you climb to the top using your strategy. Prove me wrong. Listen, guys, I'm an educated person. And you don't need to be an educated person to be reasonable, but in my field, we have people who disagree with us all the time. We have people who genuinely challenge everything we do, challenge everything we say, and that's when we go back to the research. In this game, there's really no research. So if you want to prove me wrong, I challenge you to do so. Do so. Show me that Embalmer is a good character. I'm on board with you. I'm actually rooting for you. There's no, and this is one of the biggest things. We always get people, Gardener is better than what you say. Explorer is better than what you say. Embalmer has a better strategy. We don't see them. We don't see them in top tiers. We don't see them winning the matches. So prove me wrong. I would love for you to prove me wrong so I can make a video being like, hey, somebody just helped me out with some information regarding this character and you all should know how to play Embalmer. So by all means, and that's why I haven't come out with an Embalmer video yet, right? So I usually get this all the time. Somebody's like, oh, I know how to play this character better than you. Okay, then show me. Show me. Email me. Show me a strategy. Let me see it. I'm in favor of it. All right. So let's see. Gardener, Cowboy, Lawyer. Let's see. I've been playing Magician, and I would like to know how to kite the Feaster. I don't know if you already said. Kite the Feaster like you would kite him with any other character. Maintain that distance. Keep moving forward. I can 5-cipher kite a Feaster usually if it's early game. If I'm Mind's Eye, hands down. Even computer users are a little difficult. They're a little difficult, but you'll get that down with some time and practice for sure. Oh, it was a joke. Oh, I can't tell if something's a joke. I always get, like, what happens, I'll be honest with you guys, and I'm trying to read all the comments right now, okay? But I'll be very honest with you. What happens, right, is you have a lot of people who, they see that you're on YouTube and stuff, and then they no matter what you do or no matter what you say, they always want to tell you you're wrong, this is wrong, you're false, because, like, you have this complex. You see this actually with primarily the moms who don't want to vaccinate their children. You always have like this complex where it's like whatever is being said and generally agreed on, there's always somebody that needs to like try to prove everybody wrong, and they feel they're more enlightened than everybody else. And sometimes in very rare circumstances it works out in their favor, but for the most part it doesn't. And so, yeah, you always get this. I always get hated on. You'll go like, Explorer is so good, you're not giving him credit. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been hearing this argument for 6 months. There's no high-tier person who uses him. He is not good. There are better alternatives. He's not really utilized in tournaments. Don't get mad at me. I have nothing against it. It's not like if you use Explorer, I'm going to yell at you in rank mode. Use whoever you want. Whatever, I don't care. Most of the time I go into lobbies with 4 people anyways, or 3 people. But you can't tell me to change everything that we know based on your one opinion that's not really founded in anything. No stats, no numbers, no competitive gameplay, just that one guy who's, yeah. All right, I'm sorry. I'm just like, it happens so much. What was the other one? Somebody was yelling at me yesterday. I mean, like, full-fledged yelling at me, like, calling me all these racist names. I got called a stupid Muslim. I'm not even Muslim. I got called a stupid Muslim. What was it over? What character? No, wait, what character? The priestess. Oh my God, the priestess. So there's this one guy who just loves priestess, and he comes on, and I'm like, I'm willing to listen to you. All right, like I'm willing to listen to you. I'm not gonna be an ego person, whatever. Like, give me your arguments. Tell me where I've been wrong for the last, 5 months. And please tell me why all of the Asian community is wrong. Please tell me why all of the US and Europe server is wrong. Like, please tell me why Priestess is stronger now. I was like, actually, Priestess is weaker now because the game is slowed down. And that now means that on a statistical level, her decode and debuff is that much worse now. Right? That 10% or 20% debuff, I don't even remember it anymore. It's actually worse now because the game is slowed down. So if anything, it was kind of bad when the game was fast, but not really the best. But it was manageable. Now the game is substantially slowed down. So I was like, let me hear your argument. And he says, well, she can use portals. Okay. What else? Well, she can use portals on Sacred Heart. Well, what about the other maps? Well, she can use portals on Moonlit and go across it super fast. Well, Lawyer has a map, and he can see where the final cipher machine is without running around, and he can save himself some time, which means he could theoretically decode faster, because then he can find the cipher machines faster. Yeah, but what does that got to do with my point? I'm like, there's always going to be strengths and pros to every character. I was like, so I got called a stupid Muslim. I'm like, I'm not even Muslim. I'm Italian. Call me a wop or something. Oh my God, you can't please everybody. It's I won't ever forget that discussion. I will never forget that discussion. I'm super excited. I'm ready. I'm like, blow me away with your knowledge. Blow me away. Why is the priestess good? She can use portals. I'm telling you that one day I'm going to be on my deathbed. I'm going to think of all of the moments in my life, all of the big things that I've done, all of the great things I've accomplished. 3 college degrees, was with the American Red Cross for 3 years, tried to save lives, help lives, try to inspire thousands of people, and let people know that if they, don't commit suicide, sometimes you can really change your life. People with anxiety and depression, I don't want them to feel like freaks. People like anime, you don't need to be judged. All of these things that I try to represent, I know for a fact that that's going to be in my ear on my deathbed. Well, she has portals. She has portals. All right, on that note, I'm going to portal my way out of this live feed, all right? Because it's going on for a while. We've been live feeding for about 47 minutes. I need to get some drinks, non-alcoholic drinks, of course. Need to get some fluids in me. And maybe I'll be on a little bit later on to play. Right now, you guys probably know that I don't really have a home or anything, so I'm kind of jumping from like hotel to my car, sleeping in my car. So that's actually why I'm doing a lot of these live feeds. I don't have the technology to do those videos that I have been doing for a while. I actually have no computer, no access to a computer. Trying to find libraries. Sometimes they want you to pay. They have guest pass and all this nonsense. But we're surviving. We're happy. That's all that matters. We're still alive, and we're doing our part. So, anyways, thank you very much for spending the last 48 minutes with me. That's really important to me. I know I tried to say in my last live feed that it's very important that everybody understands that I don't exist without the community. It's not the community that relies on me. And I want to thank you all for being super positive, for hearing my opinions and my analysis. And remember, for crying out loud, if you disagree with me on 1 thing, 2 things, 5 things, it's okay. You don't need to be angry. You don't need to be upset. The world still spins. And in academia, I'm telling you, it is a very strong quality to think on your own, to think with your own analysis, and to discuss it. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. Don't start hating on people for having different opinions than you, right? Even with the priestess, with the portal, getting mad at me because I disagreed with her, at least I listened and did the best that I could. And thank you very much, guys, for always watching me. And hopefully we'll be able to play sometime. Once I'm more secured and I'm in Arizona and I have my own place and I can actually afford to eat things other than really nasty dollar menu items, what we're going to do is I'm going to take all of you guys who are still tier 2, tier 3, and I'm going to start training you to get up into the high tier ranks. All of the high tier players, I play with them sometimes. But you know, they're already successful. I want to take the new generation and kind of push them up. Think of me as Professor Oak, right? All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got. I still don't know how to exit out of this thing. How do I exit? Oh, wait, hold on. All right, bye, guys. I don't know how to exit. Wait, what am I doing? Did I exit it? Hello? I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go.